Hey everyone, welcome to Runestone Reptiles. I'm your host, Chad. Some people assume snakes are easy pets, meaning that they are mostly hands-off. They look cool, and you can display them without having to put in a lot of time or effort. But how true is that? Let me show you what goes into keeping my snakes. Now, just because this is how I take care of my animals doesn't mean this is the only way to do so. I'm sure there are far more experienced keepers that do it differently than I do. My methods have changed greatly over the years as I've learned more and as I've had more experience. I'm sure my methods will continue to evolve as my knowledge grows. I'm very hands-on with my animals. I'm this way for many different reasons. One of the biggest reasons is that I just love snakes. I always have, from catching snakes as a child to now being a keeper of several. Because of this, I interact with my snakes on a daily basis. I'm not necessarily holding and playing with my little beasties every day, but I do check up on them. At least once a day, I'm opening up my enclosures and taking a look around. Sometimes I do this multiple times a day if I'm looking for something specific or I see something that concerns me. If I see poop, sheds, or other contaminants sitting on the substrate, I remove that immediately. This helps keep the substrate a little more fresh and healthy for my animals. And it just looks nicer. While I'm looking for sheds or poops, I also glance at the humidity levels and the temperatures. If my humidity levels seem low, I add a little bit more water to the enclosures. I have a digital humidity reader that lets me know what my humidity is in each of my enclosures. Humidity is important for my snakes. Honestly, it is important for all reptiles. If the humidity is too low for the beasties, it can lead to stuck sheds and other shedding problems. If my humidity is too high, it can lead to bacterial growth and health issues for the snakes. Looking at the temperatures is a little bit more complicated than the humidity. The digital reader that I have for the humidity also has the temperature on there and lets me know what the temperature is within the enclosure. While this is nice, it is mostly useless. I have two very useful tools that I use to keep my animals at the right temperature. First is my thermostat. Each heat source I have is hooked up to its own thermostat, and this allows me to control how warm or cold my enclosures get. While the thermostat keeps my heat source from overheating, it still doesn't really tell me the surface temperature where my beasties are crawling around. For that, I have a thermometer gun. Using the thermometer gun, I take the temperatures of both the warmest spot and the coolest spot within the enclosure to ensure that my animals are warm enough to digest their food and cool enough that they aren't going to burn themselves. Once I've taken a reading, I make a quick note of it within my notebook so that I have the data. The pattern I hope to see is that my animals are sitting in a temperature range that allows them to thrive and digest their food properly. If I see that it is too warm, I turn my thermostat down. If I see that it is too cold, I turn it up. While this may seem redundant and a lot of extra work, it is worth it. When I first got into keeping snakes in college, I didn't do any of this. And let's be honest, I didn't know that I was supposed to be doing this. I got lucky with that first corn snake. Somehow my temperatures landed in a spot where I never had an issue with my snake eating or getting burned. Still, as I look back, I realized I was not being a great keeper. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I never stopped to ask for help. I made assumptions. A few times a month, I will also pull out my snakes for a health inspection. During these times, I will give the snakes a glance over and see if there are any signs of problems. I check their scales out and see if there is any discoloration or injuries that need to be addressed. I'll give them a quick look over for mites and see if there are any signs of rot. I find that this is also really important. If I can catch a situation fast enough, I can address it before it becomes a major problem. If I can catch it soon enough, I might even be able to deal with it myself and avoid a costly trip to the vet down the road. Another important tool that I have is a simple digital kitchen scale. While this may seem a little weird to many keepers who have ball pythons as pets, I have found that weighing my snakes gives me a good snapshot of their health. By establishing a weight pattern, I can see if my animals are gaining weight too quickly or if they are rapidly declining in weight. This can help me establish a proper feeding schedule for my animals, as well as determine the proper prey size. I've had snakes that refuse food before. After a few weeks of a snake not eating, I'll start weighing them every single week so that I can watch their weight. If they maintain a fairly consistent body weight, I don't stress too much. If I start to see that the snake is losing weight fairly quickly, I know that I need to act fast to save my beasties. Again, for most people, the idea of weighing their animals might seem a bit excessive and unnecessary. I would have said the same thing when I was a first-time keeper in college. I would have thought it a waste of time and resources. Now I couldn't imagine being a keeper without a scale. I can monitor the health and growth of my animals, as well as determine when they are of a healthy size to breed. And all of this data that I collect over the course of a week or a month gets recorded in multiple places. I have a physical copy in a notebook, as well as a digital copy in an app that I keep records and details of my animals in. It is true that I don't think my ball pythons are quite as needy as most mammals that are kept as pets. That doesn't mean that you can just put them in an enclosure and walk away. There is a bit more to it than just making sure there is water and food. I've talked about just a few of the routines that I have developed since owning ball pythons. I love my animals and they mean a lot to me. So I take the time to make sure that they are healthy and happy where they are living. I spend several hours a day fussing over them. With a job and family members as well to deal with, this often means that I'm working with the snakes either early in the morning or late at night. What are some of the ways you check on your beastie's health? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time.